There.
Life all comes down to a few precious moments, and this is one of them.
Senate Bill 6103 addresses the definition of gambling. Under current law, gambling is defined as staking or risking something of value upon the outcome of a contest of chance or a future contingent event not under the person's control or influence upon an agreement or understanding that the person will receive something of the value in an event of a certain outcome. And what this bill does is add the concept of conditional. Let me explain a bit more. In January of this year, Division 2 of the State Court of Appeals held that an internet betting exchange in which customers were not required to pay if they lost did not constitute gambling under the Act. What this bill does is amend that definition to add the concept of conditional. So it would include conditional as well as unconditional stakes or risks, conditional as well as unconditional agreements, and that something not only will be received, but that something may be received. You do have a fiscal note. It indicates that it's not zero, but an indeterminate, and there's also an I-960 analysis. And I'd be happy to answer questions.
What is the I-960 analysis?
The I-960 analysis, as I understand from OFM, is that because this expands the definition of gambling, then there could theoretically be some additional new licensees that would have to pay a fee, but the Gambling Commission indicates that they, in the analysis, that there will not be any additional license revenue.
Amy Hunter? Yes,
Question for Stan. Could you give me some clarity in the meaning between conditional and unconditional stakes and or risks?
This addresses the issue of whether or not you are unconditionally, in other words, don't have any way to renege on that, or whether it's a conditional offer or agreement, in which case you're allowing yourself the opportunity to renege on that matter.
Whether you pay up or not?
Correct.
Yes, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are there, I think most people have been solicited for certain promotional activities related to retail sales in particular. Would some of those possibly be captured under this?
It's the bill. It is not agency request legislation, and that's mainly because of the timing of the Division 2 court decision. And we did provide a letter of support. You may already have that is signed by Chair Beerbaum. The bill is in response to the very recent court decision by Division 2, and I think one thing that has somewhat been confusing about it is that really the Commission's concerns go well beyond the court case that was before the court. And our concern is that the case creates an opening for bookmaking and professional gambling. Those are crimes, and that there would be other potential circumventions of the Gambling Act unless the definition is changed. So I would urge you to take executive action on the bill as soon as you have a chance, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Amy from the Gambling Commission? I have one, Amy. So this bill is not aimed directly at the specific court case, because I had heard that in the halls a couple of days ago, but this is just addressing a foreseeable problem that could, come out of the interpretation of whatever the court did rule on.
Yeah, it would do both, so I don't want to be misleading and say it has nothing to do with the case, because if there hadn't been a case, we wouldn't have to be looking at the definition of gambling. But our concerns with it go well beyond the case that the court heard and deals with these other things that are out there that are crimes. And as I think the question was about, unconditional gambling, and the court's decision, it was a 2-to-1 case, and it was pretty surprising that this idea that as long as you can welch on a bet, that suddenly you're not gambling anymore because of that. So.
And a quick follow-up. The court case has been determined, but is an appeal process underway?
Yes, and we have put in for a petition for review, and as you know, the Supreme Court is not mandated to hear that case. We are hopeful that they will, but that was filed just probably about 12 days ago.
Representative Kandata.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're all a little confused by the timing here. So in other words, you made a call on a particular situation and the courts have overturned that call essentially. So you want to modify the definition to meet what you thought you had to start with?
Well, we were actually, I guess I would say, the receivers of the lawsuit. So there was a petition for a declaratory order filed. The Superior Court ruled in the Gambling Commission's favor. Then the person who had sued appealed that to Division 2. Division 2 in a 2-1 decision prevailed. And now that we have that decision, we are appealing that. And I guess if I might just add one thing, we haven't really talked any about the dissent in the case, and the dissent is actually just 1 page long, but if I might, I'd like to just read one sentence that's in that from the judge, where she says that certainly the legislature did not intend that betcha.com, while running its operation on foreign-based servers, could provide an unregulated platform for internet wagering that undoubtedly will result in unpaid wagers being collected through unlawful means. So, and the court spent some time in just looking at the legislative declaration and how that has purposely been very limited, and that everything related to gambling is supposed to be very tightly controlled.
So would this bill be here if it wasn't, you say you're dealing with other issues, would the bill still be here if the court had gone the other direction? Would the other issues still be a concern?
No, because then we would not be dealing with having a court decision on the books that talks about that it's not really gambling if you have the ability to welch on a bet. So,
Amy, my concerns are if, say, the position sustained, I guess it's the, the court's rule in favor of the plaintiffs. What impact does this have on our internet gaming ban in this state?
if
I mean, we all realize that, if this type of gambling is authorized, does this mean, and I need to know its impact on the Indian Gaming Act. And because, I mean, this has much broader implications than simply, as we know, would it allow other folks to emulate this type of gambling through the internet? And, I mean, would it become allowable, therefore, for us to have other providers come forward to do this type of gambling in the state? And how does that interact with our internet gaming ban?
well, I will do my best with that question. It will definitely, I would say, not be helpful. I mean, there will be other people who will take this business model and decide that it is a good idea. And what betcha.com did, and I know they're here today, so they may want to just tell you what happened, but what they were reportedly trying to do was set up a way to basically bring bettors together, and then what they did was they collected a fee for doing that. And so that is, they were not what I would call doing traditional internet gambling in this case. They would say, we're going to allow Representative Wood to post a bet, and then we're going to allow Representative Conway to match that bet, and then, maybe I shouldn't use personal examples, but these are all obviously hypothetical.
They're the ones that come to mind.
They're the ones I was looking at. Well, let's say Amy places a bet, and her friend takes it and matches that bet, then